Switches for the exterior lights are located on the overhead panel. Taxi and runway turnoff lights are located on the left panel. Position, anti-collision, wing illumination, and landing light switches are found on the center panel. A taxi switch controls the two taxi lights mounted on the nose gear. These lights automatically extinguish when the landing gear is retracted, regardless of control switch position. The runway turnoff switches control the left and right runway turnoff lights, also located on the nose gear. Wing landing lights, located in the wing fairings, are controlled by the left and right wing landing light switches. With the landing gear lever up and the wing landing light switches on, wing landing light intensity is reduced. With the gear lever in the down position, light intensity is maximum. A single switch controls two landing lights mounted on the nose gear. Retraction of the nose gear automatically extinguishes these lights, regardless of control switch position. A position switch controls the red, green, and white navigation lights located on the wingtips. Anti-collision lights are controlled by two switches. The switch labeled red controls the red anti-collision lights mounted on the top and bottom of the fuselage. The switch labeled white controls the white anti-collision lights mounted on the wingtips. A wing light illumination switch controls lights mounted on each side of the fuselage. Service lights are located in various work areas, such as wheel wells and cargo compartments. Controls for these lights are located at the individual service area. Let's now answer a few questions. Now let's look at cockpit lighting. Controls for the cockpit lighting are located on the overhead panel and the left and right sides of the glare shield. The left side of the overhead panel contains dual rotary type controls for the glare shield and aisle stand lights. The outer knob controls the intensity of the panel lights, and the inner knob controls the intensity of the floodlights. A light override switch is also located on the overhead panel. When selected on, the captain's and first officer's instrument floodlights and the forward and aft dome lights go to maximum brightness. With the light override switch activated, normal controls for these lights are overridden. Rotary knobs on the right side of the overhead panel provide control for the circuit breaker, overhead panels, and cockpit dome lights. The selector in the lower left-hand corner of the panel controls the brightness of the various cockpit indicator lights. The bright position selects maximum brightness for daytime operation. The dim position selects an intermediate brightness for nighttime. With dim selected, the intensity of the lights automatically goes to bright when ambient light in the cockpit exceeds a certain level. The panel light controls are located on the ends of the glare shield. The captain's control regulates the integral lighting intensity in the captain's and center panels and in the standby magnetic compass. The first officer's control regulates lighting for the right panel only. The floodlight control regulates the brightness of flood lighting for each pilot's panel. Map lights are mounted on the ceiling above the captain and first officer positions and are operated by two rotary controls. Pulling the controls will turn the respective light on, while rotating them varies the brightness. Chart lights mounted under the end of the glare shield provides illumination for the approach plate holders and are controlled by two rotary knobs. Pulling the controls turn the lights on, while rotating them varies the brightness. Each flight crew member has a utility light mounted on the sidewall. Each utility light has a brightness control and a momentary action on switch. With the loss of normal electrical power, essential cockpit lighting is maintained. The standby AC bus provides power for some floodlights for the captain's, center, and first officer's panels. Integral lights for the essential instruments on the captain's and center panels automatically switch to the standby AC bus to enable continued illumination at the selected intensity. Now let's answer some questions. The next section will cover passenger signs. The passenger signs in the cabin are operated by rotary selectors on the pilot's overhead panel. These signs can be controlled manually or automatically. When either sign changes, a low chime sounds over the PA system. With auto selected, the signs are controlled automatically by landing gear and flap position. The no smoking sign illuminates when the landing gear is extended. The sign extinguishes when the gear is retracted. The seat belt signs are controlled by the landing gear and flap positions. With the gear up and the flaps up, the seat belt signs are extinguished. With either the gear or flaps extended, the seat belt signs are illuminated. When the seat belt signs are illuminated, the return to seat signs located in each lavatory also illuminate. If the no smoking and seatbelt selectors are in the auto position, a cabin altitude in excess of 10,000 feet automatically illuminates the no smoking, seatbelt, and return to seat signs. This happens regardless of switch positions. At a cabin altitude of 14,000 feet, the return to seat signs are inhibited. The next section we'll cover is passenger cabin lighting. General cabin illumination is accomplished with ceiling and sidewall lights. They are supplemented by threshold, entry, reading, closet, attendant work galley, and lavatory lights. Controls for the primary cabin lighting are located at the forward and aft attendance panels. Switches for secondary lighting, such as closet and galley, are located adjacent to those particular areas. The lights in the ceiling just outside the cockpit are automatically dimmed when the flight deck door is opened, preventing bright cabin lights from entering the cockpit at night. Now let's look at emergency lighting. The emergency light system consists of interior and exterior lights to aid in evacuation at night. The interior emergency lights illuminate all aisles and emergency exit locations. Exterior emergency lighting is provided at the doors, overwing exits, and flap areas. A guarded 3-position emergency light switch is located on the overhead panel. With the guard closed, the switch is in the armed position. When armed, the exit and emergency lights will illuminate automatically if normal electrical power fails. When the emergency lights are armed, opening an emergency exit with its escape slide armed causes all exterior lights on that side of the aircraft to illuminate. When the emergency light switch is selected off, automatic activation of the system is prevented. When the switch is positioned on, all emergency lights will illuminate. When the emergency light switch is not in the armed position, an unarmed light illuminates and an associated ICAS message appears. An emergency lighting switch is located on the forward attendance panel. Regardless of the cockpit emergency light switch position, the guarded switch activates the emergency lighting system and a red light illuminates the switch. Pushing the switch a second time extinguishes all emergency lights and the red light in the switch extinguishes. Power for the emergency lighting system is provided by separate battery packs located throughout the aircraft. The battery packs are charged whenever the aircraft electrical buses are powered and the emergency lighting switch in the cockpit is selected to the off or armed position. Let's answer some questions. The final section will cover 767 differences. On all 767s, the runway turnoff lights are located in the wing fairing. The ER has a logo light switch located on the right side of the overhead panel. The aft dome lights illuminate at a fixed intensity and can be turned on and off with a switch located on the auxiliary panel. On the ER, the flight attendant's emergency light switch is found on the aft attendant station. A portable exit light located above the door inside the cockpit may be removed for emergency use.